Good morning. My name is Julia Ramponi, and it is my privilege to serve as your worship associate today. April is Climate Justice Month, and our topic today is air. We're told that under the right conditions, we can survive up to a month without food, a week without water, but we can survive only a few minutes without air. It's good to have air to breathe. We know air is all around us, but we can't really see it. It can't be touched like earth or water. We can only feel it when it breezes over our skin. We can't taste or smell pure air, although we can detect odors carried in it, like salt water from the ocean, earthy fragrances from a forest, and even delicious cinnamon from just-baked cookies. One of my favorite memories of my teen years was going outside on a clear night under a full moon. We lived out in the country, and there were no other lights around. My shadow in the moonlight was as sharp as if it were high noon. The long grasses in the fields were silvery and moving gently in rhythm with the night breezes. Like watching silent waves on a silver ocean, it was hypnotic, haunting, and unforgettable. I remember those nights like pure magic, listening to the tiny sounds in the darkness and feeling the air on my skin. Many things make me experience awe and wonder. It has been said that life is not determined by how many breaths we take, but how many moments take our breath away. Having my breath taken away in moments of wonder is a continuing delight and reminds me I am fully alive. We welcome you, whoever you are, and wherever you are on your journey. As a home of liberal spirituality, we are grateful for the religious pluralism that expands our vision and deepens our understanding. Our principles remind us to honor reason and differences, to value and foster social justice, social action, and compassion. Welcome to Tapestry, a Unitarian Universalist congregation. If you are a Facebook user, be sure to check in and tell your friends what a wonderful congregation we are. Now, would you please take a moment to turn off your mobile phones or other devices that might be disruptive to our worship time together. Assisted listening devices are available every Sunday. If a listening device would be helpful for you, please see someone in the audio booth before the service. We are a welcoming congregation, and we extend a warm greeting to any newcomers. We invite those of you who are visiting for the first or second time, if you are comfortable doing so, to please stand and introduce yourselves so we have the opportunity to get to know you. Any newcomers?
Hi everyone, my name is Wesley King. This is my husband, J.T. King. This is our first time here. We're from...
We have some exciting events coming up at Tapestry. In 2 weeks, on May 1st, we will be participating in Big Sunday, our day of service. We will have a shortened worship service that day, and then we can all take part in the various projects to support our community, including making blankets for the homeless and assembling cleaning kits for families at risk. And you'll be hearing more details about that in the future. I would now like to invite Laura Jackson to come up. She has an announcement for us.
Good morning. Not a lot of you know this maybe, but I am the official Camp de Benneville Pines Camp champion for this congregation. There may be others. It's a wonderful place. I'm here to celebrate the fact that Tapestry women are planning this year's, and have planned this year's, Women's Retreat, which is coming up on the weekend of May 14th, 15th, 14th, 15th, 13th, 14th, 15th, Friday night through Sunday, and there is still some room left. There's not a lot of room. It's actually become, close to full, but there is room. So if you're thinking about it, you need to sign up soon. And I'd like at this moment for the people who are attending from Tapestry to stand up and just wave so that if you want to ask us any questions. We're planning things like dance and art and
Emma's Revolution.
Oh, and Emma's Revolution is playing on Saturday night concert. So you'd be very welcome, and ask us if you have any questions. There are a number of fun retreats at camp coming up, and there's brochures in the back and a newsletter, so see me if you have any questions. Thanks.
Our various groups and events reflect our vision of being a transformational home for liberal spirituality and a dynamic community leader in Orange County and beyond. And now, the Lickford family will light our flaming chalice, the central symbol of our Unitarian Universalist heritage. Our flame is a symbol of transcendence, truth triumphing over the forces of superstition and fear. Our circle proclaims that the earth and all its inhabitants are one, and from the common container of this chalice, we share the warm welcome of our beloved congregation. Please join me in saying our covenant, followed by our song of affirmation.
We join together with loving hearts, hands, and minds. Together, may we bring forth new wisdom, strength, and courage to create a world not of wealth, but of well-being. A world of new peace and abundance for all. Rising from the calls from deep within us and around us, may we dedicate ourselves to Earth's ongoing care. Welcome to our time to be together. Welcome to our time of worship at Tapestry. When we gather for worship, it's not just to celebrate the words of ancient people and their texts, but to remember our own lives. Some do that by silently lighting a candle. Others have written notes to share with us. I have two pieces of news to share with you today. One comes from Kimberly Myers. She says that her brother has welcomed a new daughter, Charlotte Michelle Hoffman. So congratulations to their whole family. I also wanted to share with you news of Shelley Blair and Sam Hooker. They were planning on joining as members of Tapestry this morning, but Shelley Blair's father passed away pretty suddenly on Friday night. So the family is mostly local, and they've all gathered together, and we'll hold them in our thoughts and prayers and welcome them when they have time to get back to Tapestry. Would you join me in reading our congregational response? For your joys, we join you in celebration. For your sorrows and concerns, may you feel our compassion. For all that is spoken and unspoken, may the caring of our beloved community sustain you. Now, Shelley and Sam weren't unable to be here, but we have a lot of new people joining Tapestry today. So I want to invite our new members to come forward and join us up front. I told you it was a lot.
All right.
So, good morning, everyone. You've chosen to be a part of Tapestry, and I'm really glad that this place feels like it can be your spiritual home for you and your family. We'll be here to celebrate with you some of life's excitement and treasures, and we'll also be here to bear witness to its sometimes painful complexities. A lot of you have been around for a while. Some of you are brand spanking new, but we will get to know each of you more personally. For now, I want to invite Retha on behalf of the membership committee to briefly introduce each one of you so we know a little bit more.
Good morning. Isn't this wonderful? As Kent said, my name is Retha Roberts, and it's a privilege to get to introduce our new members this morning. First, I want to introduce Barb Daly and Nikki Rinderer because they've been waiting for months and months, but not for insignificant reasons. They've had a couple of deaths in their family, And then Nikki and Barb decided to go through carbon monoxide poisoning themselves. So we're doubly glad they're here after months and months of waiting. But that's not kept them from jumping into activities here. You'll get to see both of them at the greeters table very often. Barb and Nikki have been together for 34 years since they met at Wheaton College. And Barb spent her work life at J.P. Morgan Chase in Chicago doing training and development. Nikki was also in training and development, but she was also in the forefront of linking computers and music. That was a while ago. After 30 years of Chicago winters and Nikki begging and pleading, they made it out to California just 2 years ago to care for an aging mother. They are currently very busy rehabbing a vintage travel trailer that they recently brought back from Montana, and they're loving it. After moving here, a friend suggested they visit Tapestry, and here they have stayed. They have lots of family nearby and enjoy their Jack Russell named Hope. Our next couple is Rona and Rob Henry. Where are you? Where are you? There they are. They've recently moved to Laguna Woods Village from New Jersey. Rona is returning to California because she was born here in Stockton, California. She moved to North Carolina 30 years ago where she met Rob, and I think she's pretty happy with that. They are longtime UUs and raised their adult daughter Kate in UU, and Kate became active in the youth group and served on the UU council to represent the youth. Rona works here in Costa Mesa with a company that promotes understanding between China and the U.S. And goodness knows we could use more of that. Rob has had a long career in internet technology from mainframe work to website development. Rob also served as a teacher in Kate's religious education class, and they both have been active volunteers in their UU congregation. Rona served on the board of directors and helped with marketing and their website. That's where her t-shirt came from, the marketing. See the chalice? They tell me that they are taking a rest from volunteering, but we hope they will tire of that very soon. Rona and Rob found Tapestry via the internet and felt good here as people came up after the service to say hello. In fact, Tapestry was a factor in them making the decision to move here. And many of you already know Paul and Beverly Snetton. They moved to California after spending 20 years in Illinois and Wisconsin. They returned as empty nesters after raising 5 children, all in their 20s now, and they have a new grandchild. They own a national engineering and environmental firm, so that was also a factor in moving to California, of course. They were both active in the Illinois UU Church, and happily for us, they are now active in our new building acquisition with their expertise in environmental issues. Beverly enjoys yoga and reading, and they both spend as much time as possible hiking in the nearby hills. Kathleen Saylor, there she is. Kathy, okay, wastes no time in joining Tapestry. I believe she was a first-time visitor just this month. Kathy is a long-time UU, and she feels at home here. She tells us that Tapestry feels like her past congregation in Monte Vista. Kathy is a retired elementary teacher, having taught for 32 years in Monrovia. She taught K through 3rd grade. She lives with her pack of animals, which include 2 dogs and 2 cats that she fostered as semi-feral kittens. So they keep her pretty entertained. Kathy has many hobbies, but she clearly says she only participates in one at a time. Painting, quilting, writing, biking, and singing with her guitar. With us this morning is Zeke and Jenny Hall and their baby Althea. There they are. Both Zeke and Jenny grew up in Minnesota and met while attending the University of Minnesota. After graduation, they both worked for the university for a year and a half and then moved to China, where they taught English at a private language school. They could probably have some good conversations with Rona. They now live in Irvine, and Jenny taught at Villa Park High School for 9 years until Althea was born. Jenny is now a graduate student at Cal State University, and she hopes to teach and counsel at a local junior college. And Zeke has worked at Irvine Valley College for 17 years, and he works with veterans and assists them to maximize their benefits toward getting their degrees. And 2.5-year-old Althea loves reading and anything related to Star Wars. They are a musical family and play a number of instruments. They play and sing together and love to travel. They are excited to join a community of good people and participate in something larger than themselves. Kimberly Myers, where's Kimberly? There she is. She's been around here for a short while, and we usually see her with one or more of her 5 children. Her children range in ages from 7 to 22. Kimberly has grown up around LA and Orange County, and she currently lives in Lake Forest. Several years ago, she attended a UU congregation in Riverside and recently found us through the UU website. She's been an active volunteer with several social action causes. She's volunteered in the past with teen pregnancy, and thus teen parenting, and with food and clothing collection and domestic violence. She wants to become involved again with social action and also develop some connections for herself. Kimberly does staff accounting for a medical device company. Another new couple joining us today is James and Brenda Thompson, along with their 2 daughters, Eva and Elisa. Brenda grew up in Michigan and James in New Jersey. They both eventually moved to Southern California, and they met in San Diego. That was a good trip. They married, and they've now lived in Lake Forest since 2003. Brenda is a yoga instructor and a part-time art instructor in an art school. James is principal engineer at a medical device company and also has his own engineering company where he builds specialty machinery. Eva is 8 years old and enjoys playing soccer and playing the piano. She loves the outdoors and would go camping every weekend if she could. Eliza is 7 and loves to dance. She is also enjoying ice hockey and loves animals. James plays ice hockey, and Brenda likes hiking and biking. They both love to travel and enjoy adventures with their daughters, 7 and 8 years of age. Our last new members this month, Reverend Kent told you that Shelley Blair and Sam Hooker wanted to join us, and she did email, and she said she specifically wanted to say that they were really sorry that they weren't able to be here. So I've just touched on some of the highlights of these new members, so please meet up with them after our worship service and enjoy birthday cake and coffee. So with dignity and respect, we welcome all of you as members of Tapestry. And so you're going to coach them over there, Coach?
So Tapestry is a covenanted community. We don't make any creedal test of membership. There's nothing that you have to profess to believe to be a part of this community. But we do ask that you participate with an open heart and an open mind, and that you share your resources of time and money as you can. We ask that when things are less than perfect, you work with us to make them better before walking away. Is that a covenant that you can agree with as we work together to build a beloved community here at Tapestry? Yes. Great. So there's only one final step to joining, and that's to sign our membership. That's right there. Our membership book, rather. Pat, who's also working with the membership committee, will help you sign that book. She also has a small chalice lapel pin for you. I hope that this pin can be a symbol for you of the warmth and the work and the joy and the struggle of building a community of faith. Wear it with pride or keep it somewhere safe, and let it remind you of the choice that you've made to gather with these great people. So she'll help you sign the membership book. And as you sign, I'm going to invite the rest of our members to join me in a responsive reading. So, if you can turn with me to number 728 in your hymnals. This reading is a blessing for all of the committed people who have built a home for liberal spirituality in South Orange County. Again, that's 728. I'll read the words in regular typed print, and you'll read the words in italics. Blessed are those who yearn for deepening more than escape, who are not afraid to grow in spirit.
Blessed are those who take seriously the bonds of community, who regularly join in celebration and learning, who come as much to minister as to be ministered unto.
Blessed are those who bring their children, who invite their friends to come along to join in fellowship, service, learning, and growth.
Blessed are those who support the church and its work by regular sustaining and generous giving, and who give themselves no less than their money.
Blessed are those who know that the church is often imperfect, yet rather than harbor feelings of anger or disappointment, bring their concerns and needs to the attention of church leaders.
Blessed are those who, when asked to serve, do it gladly, who realize that change is brought about through human meeting, and who do the work of communities and stay till the end.
Blessed are those who speak their minds in meetings, who can take and give criticism, who keep alive their sense of humor.
Blessed are those who know that the work of the church is the transformation of society, who have a vision of a beloved community transcending the present, and who do not shrink from controversy, sacrifice, or change.
Blessed are they indeed. As we get the last of our signatures in the book, our next piece is a time for all ages. I have a story for our young and young at heart, if you want to come join me up here on the carpet. The story that I have for you this morning is called A Musician and His Trumpet. Does anyone know what this is? Yes. It's a kazoo, that's right. Unfortunately, I do not play the trumpet, but I brought a kazoo instead because it's much easier. In the long, long ago, a certain soldier went to Kasapa, who was a great teacher of India. And he asked this question. He asked, what is it that happens when a person dies? And in order to answer this soldier's question, the teacher told this story. He said, in olden times, a certain musician, carrying his trumpet under his arm, stopped to rest on a bench in the marketplace in the village. He laid his trumpet down on the ground beside him. Nobody else seemed to be anywhere around, for all the villagers were at home having supper. He was lonely because he was traveling, so the musician picked up his trumpet and began to play. When the villagers heard this trumpet blowing, they were puzzled, because none of them had ever seen or heard a trumpet play before. And they said to one another, what's that sound? What's making that beautiful, beautiful sound? And they rushed out of their houses to gather in the marketplace. And there they found the musician. They asked him, Sir, What was it that made that charming and delightful noise? The musician said, well, of course, friends, it was my trumpet. You see it lying there on the ground beside me. That's what made the sound. One of the villagers then picked up this strange instrument called a trumpet, and he looked it all over. He put it down on the ground. He stood back and called out, "Speak, O trumpet! Speak, O trumpet!" But the trumpet didn't make a sound. Then another villager came to the trumpet and turned it over. He too said, "Speak, O trumpet! Speak, O trumpet!" And then another shook it all around, and the crowd began calling too, "Speak, trumpet! Speak!" But no, the trumpet did not make a sound. And the trumpeter smiled and thought to himself, how foolish these villagers are. How can they hope to hear the sound of the trumpet by trying other ways to play it than the right way? Everyone began talking amongst themselves, and finally they agreed on what must be the right way. This is the way one man explained it. When the trumpet is connected with a person who blows his breath into it, it makes a sound. But when the trumpet is not connected with a person, and no breath was blown into it, then the trumpet made no sound at all. Kasapa, the teacher, then turned to his soldier student and said, "It's precisely so with our bodies. When the body is not connected to life, then it can't walk or stand or sit or lie down. It can't see things with its eyes or smell things with its nose or taste flavors or touch things with its hands. But when the body is connected with life, the body can walk and stand and sit down. It can see things with its eyes and hear things with its ears. It can smell things with its nose. It can understand things with its mind. We say that person is alive." The student said, "What you've said seems very clear to me, and I understand, but I'm still wondering, what is this life that's sometimes connected with the body and sometimes not? Teach me more." And so the soldier stayed with the teacher for many more days, but the more he seemed to learn, the more there seemed to be to wonder about. So there ends our story about the musician and his trumpet. Namaste. Amen and blessed be. We don't think a whole lot about the air around us. Here in Orange County, the air seems pretty darn clean, and the temperature is pretty close to perfect most of the time. It's easy to ignore the air, except for on really windy days. And we even ignore our own breath most of the time. Today I want to talk a little about these forgotten, essential parts of our lives. The air that we breathe and the wind that vitalizes our earth. In high school, I was a swimmer. I was actually pretty darn good. I made it to state a couple of years. And a big part of swimming is focusing on your breath. You have to sort of force yourself to learn to breathe on both sides of your stroke. And you have to learn to, even when you're exhausted, to hold your breath and dive down for a flip turn when you just want to grab that wall. And you learn to pace your own body with the capacity of your own breath. It's really an essential part of the sport. Years later, when I started meditating, that awareness of breath came in handy. I was a much better and more dedicated swimmer than I am a meditator, but that may be why I depend so much on my breath for starting meditation. Paying attention to breathing is almost always the way I have to start to ease my way in. I have to pay attention for about 5 minutes just to slow down. Pay attention to the sensation of air entering and leaving my body. In one of his books, Eckhart Tolle makes a very bold claim about the importance of breathing. And I'm not an Eckhart Tolle fan, to be honest. I don't even remember the title of the book. But I do remember what he said about breathing. He said, being aware of breathing is more transformative and more useful than any religious tradition. As a minister and a lover of religion, those words made me squirm a bit. Being aware of your breath is more useful and more transformative than any religious tradition. I squirm because it's true. Noticing your breath is one of the most powerful and transformative things we can do. And when I say noticing, I don't mean thinking about your breath. Thinking about your breath means, am I breathing? Okay, good, I'm breathing, I'm moving on. Noticing your breath means noticing the experience of taking air in and letting it out through a full cycle of breath. The sensation of air passing through your nose, the slowness of the movement, the fullness and the emptiness of your torso, the pause, if there is one, the involuntary nature of this action, the rhythm. This is kind of blasphemous to say as a religious leader, but I have to agree with Eckhart Tolle. Noticing your breath is more useful than pretty much any religion. It doesn't have to be a hugely developed discipline. Just noticing one breath cycle, one in and out, brings a whole new dimension to any day. We usually think of breathing as an Eastern Buddhist meditation sort of thing, but Westerners and Christians have been doing breathing meditation for a very, very long time. You don't think of it as breathing meditation, but it's exactly what we do when we sing hymns together. Singing hymns combines three really powerful elements. First of all, we're doing something together, and being together in that sort of community brings some strength and comfort to our journey. Second, hymns provide a good text for us to look at, and I promise you, those hymns are chosen with care. The lyrics of hymns I see as significant as any reading that we do. Third, and finally, our hymn singing lets us breathe together. While we're singing these great lyrics all together, we're encouraged to breathe deeply, oxygenating our blood and literally opening our blood vessels and our minds and our hearts. Hymns are really important in our worship because they invite us to unite our voices and to breathe together. A minister from my past that I really admire, when she led worship, she often spoke of conspiring together. She did a lot of wordplay, bringing richer, more subversive meaning to her language. And as we gather together in worship, taking a few deep breaths together, that's exactly what we do, is conspire together. When we join in meditation or join in silence, we're breathing together. I love the conspire word because it has a sense of power and agency to it. It also has a little bit of a subversive tone to it. Choosing to unplug from technology for a moment, choosing to unplug from the advertising, from the capitalism, letting go of expectations, letting go of body image issues, letting go of work demands, of should-haves and what-ifs, and pausing to breathe and be in the present moment together is a subversive activity. We conspire to build a different way of being together. We conspire to let go of those distractions to make room for more compassionate ways of being in the world. This word conspire is just the beginning of the linguistic connection between breath and wind and the sacred. Our English word for spirit comes from the Latin word spiritus, meaning to breathe. Is that correct, Linda?
Yes.
Thank you. Linda's a Latin teacher, or retired Latin teacher. Spirit, respiration, inspiration, you get the idea. And the Greek word pneuma means both spirit and breath. We all know what pneumonia is, but did you know that pneumatology is the theological study of the spirit or the soul? You can get a PhD in pneumatology. The reading from earlier was a helpful reminder to me, actually it was pretty shocking, of how essential the wind is to our earth and to our own survival. The wind is responsible for balancing the temperature and moisture on the earth, and it makes life possible. Still, we don't pay much attention to it. Except for stormy days, we kind of forget about this element. It's ironic, isn't it? Air, the resource that is absolutely the most essential for our lives, is the resource that we think about the least. It's just always there, so we take it for granted. We take a lot of our connections with the natural world for granted, as if that's just the way it is, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way it always will be. But there are other ways of seeing the world, other ways of understanding our place in creation. One of my seminary professors was named George Tinker. He came from an Osage, American Indian tradition, and brought that learning into our classroom. He helped me realize how much of my own European worldview I just took for granted. This week I read one of his essays that helped shine a new light on the way we take our human role for granted. Tink, as I said, draws most of his theological tradition from his Osage background. He writes, "My relatives include many more than all you readers or all two-legged folk in the world. Indeed, it necessarily includes all of life on our planet. The four-legged persons, the flying persons, from birds to butterflies and even flies, and all those people called living, moving ones. That is, the mountains and rivers and trees and rocks, the corn that we plant to sustain us, and the fish in the lakes." Understanding all of these animals, all of these things as our relations is pretty difficult for us to understand in our world. Without grabbing someone else's culture and language, we can use our own Unitarian Universalist tradition to kind of get what he's moving toward. Earlier this week, I found myself in a conversation about our first principle, respect for the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, some people apparently have argued that we should expand that respect for inherent worth and dignity beyond every person to include every being. Interesting proposition. My immediate reaction was that's totally impossible. To honor the worth and dignity of all beings would require us to become vegan and live tiny, sheltered lives. We couldn't drive our car for fear of committing genocide against our bug brothers and sisters. I accidentally step on a snail about once a month in my apartment complex. Am I a snail serial murderer? But this is exactly where Tink's essay broadened my perspective in a really helpful way this week. Respect doesn't mean being paralyzed by fear that we might inflict harm upon another. Respect means coming to terms with our dependency on our non-human relations for survival. By the very nature of our makeup as humans, our survival depends on inflicting some harm on some of our relations. Like many other species, we depend on killing others of our relations for our survival. That's just the way it is. That doesn't require us to devalue them. Rather than ignoring their worth and dignity, we might instead honor our relations and humbly recognize the harm that we cause them.